Hey, everybody. My name's Andy Rozak, and I'm really happy to be joined today by Ryan Summers. Ryan is with All Mental Health, which is a wonderful organization. They have a whole host of great free resources on their website. And, we've been thinking a lot about mental health, especially in this coronavirus era. It's a long duration event. It's not like our typical emergency or disaster that has a starting point and an end point. This thing, we're not sure when it's going to end, but we do know it's going to be around for quite a while still, until we can figure out a vaccine or a treatment or even some more advanced testing. So I wanted to check in today with Ryan and have a chat about mental health and have her highlight some of the wonderful resources that she has on her website and tell us a little bit more about what All Mental Health does. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Ryan.
Thanks so much. Like you said, my name is Ryan Summers. I'm the co-founder and director of content at All Mental Health, which is a tech nonprofit. And we are a technology-driven nonprofit with a mission to increase access to quality mental health information. I'll just give you a little bit of background about how we got started and how we're doing what we're doing now. My co-founders and I were all working at a company called Lantern when we met. Lantern was a for-profit digital mental health company, and it helped people who were experiencing stress, anxiety, depression, disordered eating. And we did that for about 3 to 4 years until 2018 when we closed our doors. And then three of us, my two co-founders and I, really wanted to continue supporting people's mental health, but recognized that there were always going to be people that the for-profit digital mental health space was leaving behind. A lot of people were accessing mental health care through their employer, through employee benefits, or they had the expendable income to be paying a therapist or an online service. So we really wanted to kind of close that gap and reach people with free, high quality resources. So you can see on the left, that's Lantern, the company we worked at before, All Mental Health logo in the middle. And then we had been mainly working on products and programs to help people through different life transitions. We had been working with caregivers who were in what they call the sandwich generation, who, were taking care of their kids and then their aging parents at the same time. We were trying to help parents who were concerned about the vaping epidemic and their teens. We have an initiative to help young people going through heartbreaks. We were kind of trying to help people at these critical periods, because we found that often people don't search depression, they search things like breakup, like sandwich generation, vaping, things like that. So when coronavirus hit, we knew that we basically needed to immediately switch gears and start creating something to help all of us to go through this really unprecedented time. So we created a free web app to support people experiencing stress, anxiety, and depression during coronavirus. And I just want to be really clear that stress, anxiety, and depression are really normal responses to what's going on right now. So, we're looking to educate people with some techniques that might help, but we're also doing a lot of work to normalize and validate that what people are going through right now is really hard, and it makes sense to be scared and worried and really just kind of feeling overwhelmed in this moment. So this is the resource that we created. It's free online. You can visit it on your phone or your computer. And it has a wealth of articles specifically about how to support your mental health during coronavirus. All of our content is based in what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and mindfulness. CBT helps people understand how their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are related, and it helps them to take these really kind of small, manageable changes, maybe to their daily routine, or gives very kind of short, concrete exercises that you can do, because the magnitude of what we're dealing with is so big that often it's these really incremental changes that help us to feel better. Mindfulness, as you may be more familiar with, helps people stay connected to the present moment. And that's really important during coronavirus, because a lot of what I know I'm dealing with, and a lot of us are, is this real concern about the future. We can feel like we're kind of living in the unknown and trying to predict a lot. So mindfulness practices can really help us ground in the here and now. And you can see that this resource is organized by what you might be struggling with at the time when you open this up. So I thought maybe we would walk through each of them together, and I can just give you a little bit of background about what each section has. So this first one is called I Can't Stop Worrying, which is relatable for many of us right now. It's about how to get a handle on the negative thoughts that might be surfacing more often during this time. So for some of us, they're thoughts like, I'm definitely going to get sick, or this is going to last for years, like these really kind of concrete, black and white, big thoughts. We could be worrying about what other people think of us, or feeling down on ourselves after losing work. So CBT is going to help us take a look at what's in our control and what's outside of it, so that we can really focus our time and our very limited energy right now on those things that we can change. And it also helps us to examine our thoughts and just see if they're true. They always feel real, but just to see if they're 100% true and if we can be a little bit more flexible. So instead of a thought like, I'm definitely going to get sick, it could be something more like, there is a risk to getting sick right now, and here are the steps that I can take to protect myself. This next section here is about communication. So we have kind of support for making changes around our interpersonal relationships at this time. For many of us, boundaries become even more important. If you're not living alone, you're likely in very close quarters with the people that you're living with, and you may need to kind of set some expectations that help you support your own mental health. So this section has some support around how exactly to ask for help, or how to communicate when you need your living situation to be a little bit different in a way that makes you feel more safe. Let's see if I can get the slide to move forward. Yes. This next one is about understanding emotions. And we do a lot of work at All Mental Health to kind of dispel the myth of negative emotions. We think of them as difficult emotions because we really feel like sadness, anger, fear, all of these really kind of hard to sit with feelings are valid. They're coming from a very real place, and they're giving us important information. So while they may be very uncomfortable, we kind of look to see what the source of the emotion is and how we can work with it. So in this one, we explored the intelligence of fear, what to do with anger, like what steps you can take, the healing power of sadness. We just kind of make a little bit more space for these more difficult emotions. Okay, this next one is about support with relationships. So one of the articles in this one is a guest article from a relationship expert in the Bay Area, just talking about how to communicate with your partner if you happen to be living with a partner, responding to racism during the COVID-19 outbreak, really just becoming aware of the fact that the pandemic is making every relationship we have more intense. It's really kind of turning up the heat on our interpersonal relationships. So we've heard that some people are navigating higher bouts of domestic violence. We know that people are experiencing more street harassment, and we really want to just help people understand that this is not normal, but is common right now, and give people a few steps that they can take, again, to feel a bit safer in their personal relationships. Okay, and then here is our last section. Let's see if there we go. It's called I'm Overwhelmed Right Now. So most of the resource, I would say the other 4 sections kind of help you understand a little bit more about your situation and give you a step to take. But that's not always possible. If you're feeling really panicked in the moment, or really overwhelmed, or really depressed, it can be hard to do much of anything at all. And this section here is really about getting in the moment relief. It includes things like gratitude practices, guidance for restful sleep, sleep compassion, self-compassion, breathing practices. So it's really about how to get through a really difficult moment without it kind of spiraling to become something bigger. So I actually thought it might be nice to do one of these together on the call. And this is one that's appropriate for kids too. It's kind of one that's a little bit more accessible for all ages. So it's something you could do yourself, or it could be something you do with the young people in your life. And so just notice if you can find a way of sitting that's a bit more comfortable. You might kind of find your feet on the ground, or adjust yourself in your chair. And see if you can roll your shoulders back and maybe find a breath first. And so when we're feeling anxious, like when we're refreshing the news over and over, we can feel really disconnected from our bodies and our surroundings. You might notice that it feels like your muscles are supercharged or your hands are tingly, and it's a little bit harder to notice what's around you. Feeling grounded is the opposite. So, feeling grounded means that we experience stability, awareness, connection to ourselves and our surroundings. And research has shown that spending time noticing a physical object can help us move from a more anxious state to a more grounded one. So, any object that you have nearby that you can pick up and hold in your hand will work. I often just use a coaster. It does not have to be something fancy. So, just take a moment to maybe pick something off your desk or couch that you can hold in your hand. Okay, and first, just take a couple of moments. You see, you have a mug. Take a couple of moments to notice how your object looks. So, just observing what color or colors does it have? Is it angular? Is it smooth? Can you see through it? You can notice the size. So, noticing if it's large or small. Breathing while you do this. Okay, and then feel the object in your hands. You might kind of weigh it and notice if it's light or heavy, if it has a texture, like if it's soft and fuzzy, or if it's prickly or hard. You can see if it's cold or warm. For me, this has been sitting in the sun, so it has kind of a warm temperature. Okay, notice if your object has a smell. Notice if it does have a smell, if it's pleasant or unpleasant. If it's a strong scent, like maybe you're holding a candle, or more subtle, like the smell of wood. Okay, if it happens to be food, you can go ahead and taste it. Okay, if you are tasting your object and it's appropriate to do so, notice if it's salty or sweet, if it's bitter. We're just taking our time. Okay, and then take a moment to place your object down. And we're just going to check in and notice how we feel. So again, finding the feet on the ground if they reach, finding your body in your chair, maybe taking another breath. Okay, it's possible for some people that after taking some time out to focus on a physical object, you can feel a little bit more present or a little bit more settled. And of course, that's not the case for all of us every time. Okay, but just check in and see how it feels for you right now. Okay, thanks for doing that with me. I just wanted to share a few other things before we wrap up. Again, as I mentioned, there is no normal here. So it's very common to feel disoriented or like you're over or under reacting to the situation at hand. And there really is no wrong way to feel. So that's just important to remember at every step here. Just want to go back. There we go. And an uncertainty can be a really big factor for anxiety. That's true outside of coronavirus. So just noticing that that kind of intensifies with the situation. And the isolation can be a really big fueler of depression. And of course, that intensifies with the coronavirus situation. So just really noticing that like these things that already are very hard have now become more intense. So we are very likely to experience more mental health challenges ourselves and notice them in the communities that we live in and the communities that we work with. I wanted to give you a couple of resources that we really trust and depend on at All Mental Health. The first one is called Crisis Text Line, and they have been working so hard to support people during this. They are a free and confidential crisis line that you can text. You can text the word SHARE to 741741, and you'll reach a trained crisis counselor. You can always go to crisistextline.org. And then the other referral that we've been using a lot is the hotline.org. This is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Because many people are sheltering in place with someone who's not safe for them, This is a really good resource to share for folks. It's also a free and confidential line. And the way that you can stay connected with us is by visiting coronavirus.allmentalhealth.org, and then you'll pull up that site that I was just walking you through. Please share it with other people in your community. It's free. We'll be adding to it. You can always email us by saying hello@allmentalhealth.org or by visiting our site at allmentalhealth.org. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the call, we also have an initiative to support teens who are going through a breakup, and we've kind of paired that support with coronavirus support for teens. So if you do have a teen in your life who's struggling, you can tell them to follow Me After We on Instagram, and we will support them there. And we just wanted to say thank you. So we really believe that this high quality mental health information should be free, and we're just so happy to be speaking with you at the Institute for Childhood Preparedness. We think what the work that you're doing is so mission aligned and so important. So I'm very grateful to be here, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much, Ryan. That was great, and really shows you just how a few minutes out can really bring you back to focus and bring you back centered. I think, I'm guilty of it. I've got the TV on in the distance here, and it's just nonstop news, and I know that that's not healthy. And taking a moment to reflect on my mug is really a valuable tool. But it's simple, it's free, but it's very effective. And we know a lot of our early childhood providers are struggling right now. Either they're off work because their programs are closed, or they're working more than ever for caring for frontline medical providers. So a lot of stress out there in the community. And we know that many parents are coming to our child care providers and sharing their stories of stress and anxiety as well. So I really think these resources are going to be helpful, and I encourage everybody to give a look. I personally found the website to be fantastic. It was very easy to understand. It was very easy to navigate, and it really did provide those actionable tips. So any other tips you want to provide as far as, I know getting outside and going for a walk seems to be a good thing to do. Any other things that you've been practicing to try to keep your mental health healthy during these times?
Good question. I've just been doing so many FaceTime calls, just trying to keep that sense of connection, even when we can't be together, has been really big. And I'm torn because it's more time on a screen, but it does feel different seeing my friends' faces and family, even though they're far away. So that's been helpful for me.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it in a few videos back, but we call it social distancing. That's a public health term. And I'm a public health guy, but I think social distancing probably is not the best term we could be using with the general public. I mean, I really think physical distancing is what we're talking about.
Right.
Now more than ever, we need to have our social networks close and making sure that we can socially connect with people. So whether that's a phone call or a video chat or even attending a religious service online, just to have that sense of community. It's just so important right now. So many of those societal norms that we count on to be emotional support for us have just been interrupted. So kudos to all of you at the team there and all the great work that you're doing to try to help out in this crisis. When this is over, what will you guys shift back to doing? What will be your main focus of business when this is all over and done?
We will probably be focusing our efforts again on Me After We. That's the initiative we've been spending most of our time on, even now during this kind of pairing, like I said, the coronavirus support with the breakup support. We're looking to prevent teen suicide, and we think that intervening at breakups for teens and young adults is a really critical period. So we will be going full steam ahead on that, but we'll be supporting people through coronavirus for as long as this lasts.
Wonderful. So for those of you that have children in your program that have older children like teenagers, this is another great resource to have and one to keep in your file as you think about supporting the families that you do, whether it's in childcare, family childcare, Head Start, early Head Start, after school care, all those great programs. Well, Ryan, I just can't say thank you enough. Thank you for everything that you're doing. We appreciate all the great free resources that you have available and just so generous to put those out there and be available in this time of crisis. And please stay healthy out there. I'll let you have the last word.
Thank you. Just thank you so much for everything that you do. It's really important work, and we're honored to support you. So thanks for being here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Please stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.